Tammy Morales, who is a Democratic socialist, she's just a socialist, but she is now the most furthest to the left member of the Seattle City Council that is left, because now there's this kind of moderate, relatively speaking, majority on the Seattle City Council. And anyway, she's speaking out about the issue with Kia and Hyundai, which is an issue. The fact that you've got these TikTok videos that have been going around now for 2 years that shows you how to easily steal, if you are so criminally inclined, a Kia or a Hyundai. And so what do we see? Well, we see that the vast majority of vehicles that are being stolen, certainly in Washington state, you're seeing it across the country, are Kias and Hyundais. And we know, because we've talked about this a ton on our show, that these aren't just kids from TikTok stealing them to go joyride. These are hardened youth criminals, and yes, there is such a thing as a hardened criminal as a juvenile, who are committing sometimes violent crimes, dangerous crimes with these vehicles that they have stolen. But apparently, again, she's the one who's having a press conference talking about this issue, yet she acted completely pled ignorance when asked by Como's Jeremy Harris about some of the crimes that are being committed with the stolen vehicles. Here's this clip.
The resolution and the lawsuit are really about corporate responsibility.
The most familiar part of Kia theft is this: stolen cars used as battering rams to bust into businesses. No doubt you've seen it plenty of times, but somehow this was news to Councilmember Morales.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard that these stolen cars are being used for smash and grab.
What? What planet are you living on? Honestly, I do think that's worse than knowing about it and just lying about it, because I actually think that she didn't know. I'm inclined to believe that she really did not know. So that tells me that she's pushing through, passing policies, doing whatever, and she's not actually paying attention at all to what's happening on the other side of things. I mean, for the love, how many stories have we seen and heard about, whether it's into a convenience store where a stolen vehicle is used as a ramming mechanism and then they yank out an ATM. We talked about Dunn Lumber, which experienced a smash and grab. And heck, sometimes, I know this was the case up at Snohomish County Gun Shop, they used a stolen vehicle to ram into the building. And then just to get into the building, and obviously it substantially damaged the vehicle, but they had a different car that was waiting to drive them away. So in that case, the vehicle really was just a battering ram that they left on the scene. I don't know how, as an elected leader, as a Seattle City Council member, particularly someone who is holding a press conference to talk about the crisis of stolen vehicles, how in the world do you not know that? And this is something, last month, the Seattle City Council passed a resolution that called on the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration to order a recall for specific Kia and Hyundai vehicle models and force manufacturers to install industry standard anti-theft technology. So they brought up a resolution on this issue. It's not as if this issue has not been discussed in the Seattle City Council. And God bless Jeremy Harris. I'll say there are only a few mainstream journalists in Seattle who I think are actually doing their job. Can you play that clip again? Because his lead up, it's totally funny because it's very snarky. His lead up to what Councilwoman Morales said is hilarious.
The resolution and the lawsuit are really about corporate responsibility.
The most familiar part of Kia theft is this: stolen cars used as battering rams to bust into businesses. No doubt you've seen it plenty of times, but somehow this was news to Councilmember Morales.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard that these stolen cars are being used for smash and grab.
Somehow that's totally lost on the councilwoman. Wild stuff. And also what they're talking about here and trying to put the blame and the responsibility on Kia and Hyundai and force their hand. And look, I do believe that Kia and Hyundai bear some of the responsibility. We'll talk about that coming up in a moment. But it also just shows this is exactly what Bob Ferguson did. You know, we had this crisis of stolen vehicles and he's coming out having press conferences. Well, we need to get Kia and Hyundai and the manufacturers to stop this from happening. But no acknowledgement that a Kia doesn't steal itself. A Hyundai doesn't steal itself. In order for this perfect storm of a lack of industry standard safety measures in place, you've got that, and that is a problem, but you have to get someone who's willing to steal that vehicle for it actually to become a crime. And just like Attorney General Bob Ferguson, Tammy Morales just does not seem concerned with the actual act of stealing the vehicle. Here's a second clip from this Como News story.
Morales acknowledged Kia thieves often get away unafraid to run from police.
It is young people who can very easily access these cars and who are stealing them.
Do you think there should be stiffer penalties when people do steal these cars?
Well, I think there are penalties for car theft, and those should be, they should be, folks who steal them should be held accountable.
In any event, Morales wants the companies to pay the city for the costs of dealing with the stolen Kias and Hyundais. As for the incentive for youth to steal the cars,
In court, do you think the lack of deterrent from getting caught or not being chased, do you think that plays into the decision by some of these young folks to steal these cars?
Well, I won't speak to the motivations of young people, except to say that they are young people. And when issued a challenge, especially on something like social media, they like to take it up.
That's insane. So not only is she, again, she's just constantly, oh, well, yeah, stealing a car is against the law. And so if these folks steal a car, they should be held accountable. Gosh, maybe you shouldn't have pushed for the defunding of police that has scared away more than 600 officers out of the city. Maybe you should respect the police and stop pushing forth things that are designed to take it easy on criminals. So you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. We don't have enough police officers in the city of Seattle to be going after all the individuals who are stealing vehicles and following up and taking preventative action. We don't have that, and it's in part because of people like you and the policies that you've pushed. And then on the back end, for her to suggest that this truly is a product of a TikTok challenge where, oh, young people, shucks. Oh, the youths these days, they'll do the craziest stuff. No, they've used these stolen vehicles to kill people. They've used these stolen vehicles to commit drive-by shootings. They've used these stolen vehicles to rob hardworking businesses. And I can't take you seriously when you want to hold Kia and Hyundai accountable unless you're willing to talk about all the pieces of this puzzle that have to fall into place in order for this not to be a crisis anymore. You have to arrest people and support police to be able to do that work. You have to arrest people who steal vehicles. There have to be consequences for them. They can't get out like we were seeing down in Thurston County. It's not just a Seattle problem. You can't have youths who steal a vehicle, get out, they steal another vehicle the next day, judge lets them out. Oh, don't worry about bail, not a problem at all, because these are young people and we want to treat them with kid gloves. They're not treating the community with kid gloves. They're not treating us law-abiding citizens with kid gloves. I don't care what age they are. They are criminals. And so it is just so indicative of that mindset to say, oh, let's blame the car manufacturers.